We speak now to Andrzej Kiepiela, the coordinator of the KwaZulu-Natal Growth Coalition. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Please correct me if I'm pronouncing your first name and surname incorrectly, and I do apologize in advance. But thank you so much for joining us. So please share your reactions.
Thank you very much. Your pronunciation is very good. No problem. Look, first of all, like my colleague from the Chamber of Commerce, we would like to extend our condolences to all those that passed away in the families, because people come always first. And we are grieved as we were last July with the riots, but we will pull together. And the president, as usual, he gets the information correctly. He analyzed the whole situation 100%. He's been here from the air. He looked down. He traveled the length and breadth of the country. And obviously, the cabinet meeting is doing the right things by declaring the state of emergency, disaster rather. And we will work together. Tomorrow afternoon at 5, we're meeting with the Premier, all the leaders of business and civil society and so on and so forth. We're going to get the update in terms of the research done on the damage of properties, damage to roads, infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So all the units are working separately now, but also together by comparing notes from time to time.
Compare notes with us in terms of what you've been hearing, seeing from business. I know business owners have been left reeling again in the wake of the floods, that irrespective of COVID-19, but what we saw last year, the protests, the looting in July last year. So how do you foresee this impacting, and let's leave growth aside, but just businesses, particularly the small to medium ones, surviving, but employment as well? We understand Tonga Hewlett has said it's still assessing the damage. Toyota and SABC, I believe they had to shut their operations.
Look, the losses are colossal, absolutely devastating. The pictures that we see now about the floods, as we saw in July last year, do not do justice to the actual situation. We've got thousands of bridges and the roads and places damaged. And it's not only the physical damage, but damage to productions, because if one element of production is disturbed, and you can't complete a motor vehicle, or you can't complete loading of ships, because debris is floating around and so on and so forth. So the devastation is huge for big business, but it's also equally huge for small businesses, because they are the suppliers. They are the providers of transport, of workers to work and back, and obviously public transport and private transport and so on. The infrastructure is just, I drove from the airport to the north, a distance of 45 kilometers. It took us 5.5 hours just to travel, one way, because the bridge on the northern part of N2, just after Belito, is damaged. And so we are now back to square one, where we were for 6 years, because some contracts that were given at that time went bankrupt, the contractors, and the whole thing was delayed by 6 years. After 6 years, it was completed. Now, N2 is not possible. We have to now wait in queues and so on. So the devastation is colossal.
The president did mention the Port of Durban, and in his words, he seemed to emphasize how this will bleed into productivity and economic disruption in other parts of the country. Do you foresee this even impacting on the national GDP, this loss and devastation we're seeing in KwaZulu-Natal?
Not only national, actually subcontinental, because Port of Durban feeds between Port of Durban and Richards Bay. And as I said, the N2 is now affected. So you've got a problem of logistics, which affects the Gauteng, because that's where obviously a lot of economy is located. Remember that Durban alone constitutes about 64% of the GDP the economy of KZN. So it's a huge factor. And the port, the reason why Durban exists is because of the port, and the port exists because of Durban. And then obviously the logistics of joining us with the hinterland and obviously going then north to Zambia, Zimbabwe, and so on and so forth. So we've been battling with the port of Durban now for about 5-6 years. You know, the capital investment that was supposed to take place didn't take place. We are far behind through attrition, let alone now by the damages and the effects. So it's a huge challenge and for the whole country. And we're going to be affected very badly unless we throw big resources with the best technical assistance. And, you know, we obviously work together. And that's what we're going to stress tomorrow with the Premier, and the Premier will stress it with the President again. We have to be serious about how we're going to fix this port and fix it quickly.
And we know the insurance sector has said that given the experience over the past couple of years, it is adequately positioned to be able to pay out legitimate claims. But we know that some of the businesses may not have had enough money to, cover themselves for insurance claims. So just how much of the losses have not been recouped over the past couple of years? As in, even if we're talking about rebuilding, you're rebuilding from a compromised base.
Well, in terms of the percentage of legitimate claim by those that were insured, it's around 65-68% paid out so far. So there's about 30-35% still not paid out for July last year. So obviously now you're going to add the element of damage of the floods. We don't know, what's the appetite and to what extent the insurance company is going to honor the commitments. There's always a dispute, in terms of claims and counterclaims and so on. And it takes time. Some of the payments that were due by municipality to businesses in terms of compensation on rates and discounts and so on because of the riots last year still haven't been considered. They're still waiting for payouts and reductions of rates and so on. So we're still suffering from July last year, and now we've got this disaster. And really, we will work together because that's what we are made of. We are strong, but not too strong to be on our own. The rest of the country must help us, and obviously, any way we can bring some resources from outside of South Africa, we must appeal through those channels as well.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. Andrzej Kiepiela is the coordinator of the KwaZulu-Natal Growth Coalition.